Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our guest. You know her as the most delightful member of the Big Three, the middle Big Three, that is. Please welcome Hannah ZEILE.
Hey,
What's going on?
Hi, Hannah.
Look at that haircut. You look so stylish. This is great.
Oh, thank you. I had fallen into the trap of the internet where I now cut my own bangs. So
This is you?
Wow.
this is me.
I think this is pretty well done. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
You've got another
Thank you.
career under your belt now if you want to become a hairstylist.
This is amazing. Real quick, not to embarrass, but because I'm from St. Louis, and St. Louis is all about baseball. We had a baseball player that I didn't know about.
And that
this.
arch. You guys have that arch.
We have the arch too, and then
baseball.
we have the St. Louis Cardinals.
That's right.
Yes.
A longtime member of the St. Louis Cardinals was a dude by the name of Todd ZEILE. It's Hannah's dad.
What?
Yes.
And I remember like walking up to you on set, and I was like, I never put it together. And I was like, Hannah, is your dad Todd ZEILE? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, get out!
I know. I think Dan made a joke to me one time too, because Dan's a Mets fan?
Yes.
Am I correct? Is it Mets? Okay. And my dad also played for the Mets, and he made a joke to me basically saying, he was like, if you would have just said that in your first meeting with me, you would have got the role. I was like, oh my God.
You didn't even need that.
Both of
So
my
now
parents,
you tell everybody that at auditions, just in case.
Yeah, I'm like, by the way. And my mom also was an athlete. My mom was an Olympian gold medalist.
What? Wait, in
So gymnastics, 1984 Mary Lou Retton's team. Yeah, my mom got gold on the uneven bars, and she still holds she's the only American to ever get gold on uneven bars.
Are
You know this?
defecating me? What is going on?
Hannah's
Yeah.
sports royalty.
So like growing up, everyone thought I was genetically altered to be an athlete. Everyone always thought I would end up being an athlete. And then me and all my siblings ended up more creative,
That's
which
right.
is funny.
Emotional
But yeah.
athletes.
Did you
Emotional
guys
athlete.
play
Totally.
Did you play anything?
Yeah, I was I played club soccer, and I was like ranked in my county for tournament tennis.
No way.
Sully was a tennis player.
I was a competitive tennis player
Really?
growing up too. Yeah.
I want to play against so bad. It's like I always used to see when I was younger, like people of all ages that even if they weren't like running up and down the court as much, they were still just like keeping a rally,
Yeah.
and I miss it all the time. So I think I want to like go try to do that as an extracurricular now.
Yeah, you got to dip your toe back into
I
that.
love it.
Meant to be.
I miss it.
So wait, we talked about this just so briefly, but Mandy had mentioned, because we just had Logan on the show like last episode.
He FaceTimed me to tell me how much fun he had.
Oh, good.
You
That
guys
makes
are
us happy.
so close.
But it makes us wonder.
Yeah,
Like,
he also just wanted to make sure he told me that his episode was the first. And
Sure.
So he wanted to make sure he got
Just
that
so
one
you
off.
know.
Very much like
this is,
Kevin.
but it's almost the order of the big three, because like first came me, then came me, and then hopefully we can get Niles at
Exactly.
one point in time too. But Mandy had mentioned that like we had to go back and reshoot like a timeline that you guys, because there was another 3 actors that were hired before you. Things didn't quite work out. And so with a really quick turnaround, you guys had to come in and join us. So talk to us a little bit about the process of how the audition came for you.
Because of the quick turnaround, also, it felt so much like timing was everything. It felt like it was meant to be how I ended up booking this, because I actually hadn't done an audition in 4 years. I had done some stuff when I was 13 and then completely left it behind, went to high school, was more involved in my friend group and sports and whatever I was doing. And then at the time I was freshly 18 and I applied at my local Chipotle. So I was cashiering at Chipotle at the time. And while I was there, I was like, I'm still so passionate about acting. That's always what I wanted to do as a career. And so I just blind called up my team from when I was like 13. And thankfully they were willing to send me back out on auditions. But the audition for This Is Us was my first audition back in 4 years.
Man. What? You're at Chipotle
So
you're at Chipotle when they're still doing like the vegan beans, but mixing in the pork juice with them.
Listen, they're not giving us any money,
like,
Sterling.
trained. All I knew how to say was guac is $1.95 extra. Is that okay? That was my catchphrase for the time. But it ended up because it was such a quick casting, because usually you know how it goes, like you're waiting and it's like the whole waiting period is the most anxious part of it. But I went in, had my first audition, and then like 2 days later, I was at the cash register at Chipotle and my phone rang. I answered the phone to my manager and she was like, hey, so Dan Fogelman wants you to come down to Paramount and meet him right now.
What?
And I left on the spot. I left my job on the spot.
That was
and
it.
like,
You never went back to Chipotle.
I never went back because it seemed unbelievable to them. They were like, why would you not give me a 2-week? And I was like, I didn't have a 2-week I met with Dan, and then I was in an Uber on the way home. It's so funny. I want to find this Uber driver because he shared the most like momentous moment of my life. I got the call like, hey, you have to be on set tomorrow. Mind you, I also had to go get my hair. I had jet black hair at the time. I was going through something, obviously.
Sure.
They were dyeing my hair, and I had to get fitted for my colored contact lenses and then be on set by nighttime. So I had like appointments the next morning because it was like all quickly happening. So I got the call in the Uber for like the appointments are being scheduled. So I'm in the back of this Uber, like crying, calling my family, calling all my friends. And then finally, once I finished all the calls, the Uber just like looked at me in the mirror and very quietly was like, congratulations, I'll look out for you.
Wow. This is the best story.
This is incredible.
This?
Go back through your Uber app. We want to talk to this driver too.
I know we're gonna
Need to find the driver, need to talk to my old manager at Chipotle that I quit on the spot.
Yeah, guac is free.
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable.
Did you just quit? Did you tell us that, hey man, I gotta go? Like I just booked the show, or did you just like bounce up out of the Chipotle?
I just remember going to the manager because it was to meet with Dan. I didn't know if I had the part yet, but I basically just said to her, I was like, hey, whatever consequences come from this is fine, but I'm just letting you know, I'm not asking, I'm telling you that I'm leaving.
Boom!
I'm heading out.
Ma'am.
So
That's right.
That is
gotta go.
That's how you do
Opportunities
it.
calling.
Yeah.
And thank God I did.
That's right.
But, yeah.
And you took two
And then
sides
it
of
was such
guac,
a whirlwind from there.
put them in your
Right.
bag,
I squeezed them into my
and
mouth.
got out of there.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. And did you have, I mean, that's an exceptional turnaround that you met with Dan and then you were supposed to be on set like literally the next evening.
Yes.
Did you have any idea of what the show was? Were you able to read a script? Did you know you were playing a younger version of a character who was already established? Like, what information did you have at that point?
Yeah, so in the breakdown for the audition, I knew that it was to play a younger Chrissy Metz.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched, I think only 2 episodes had been released by the time that
sounds right.
I was auditioning.
Yeah.
So I just don't think anything could have prepared me for like the magnitude of what I was joining.
Yeah.
I also just because I hadn't acted in 4 years and I was just so grateful to even be a part of something. I was just every day was like, I was so excited to be there that it was like such a whirlwind. But what's funny is my mom had followed Milo's career. Like my mom was a huge fan of Milo since I was younger. So she had seen ads for This Is Us. And we have like, I vividly remember her telling me, because that's my mom and I's bonding thing is we binge watch TV together, which I used to come over to her house every Tuesday night to watch This Is Us live with her. That's how we bond. So she called me saying like, I think I have our new show. That Milo Ventimiglia is on this new show that just came out. The pilot's out. We got to watch it. And then I ended up.
You said, no, I think I have our new show.
I was like, right.
Wait for it, Mom.
It's incredible.
I'm dumbfounded.
I am
But it was
too.
also exciting because when we first joined in the first season, I wasn't really sure. And I don't know, maybe you guys have more insight. I don't know if it was already predestined of how much like the flashbacks would become integrated into the core of the show. At the time, I wasn't sure because sometimes in flashback television, it's like, you're not used as much. It could just be for that specific memory that they need to portray, and then it's over. But I didn't realize it would be interweaved.
Yeah, nobody was more unaware of how much this show would travel through time than old Mandy Moore.
Yeah.
She was like,
Nobody
I'm sorry.
told
Truly.
us.
I'm sorry. How
Truly.
old?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. They're not flashbacks per se. They're just different timelines. You know what I'm saying? Like we explore each timeline pretty fully.
Right.
And so I guess, that's why it becomes what
So
it
you
is.
get this show and within 48 hours, you are thrust into a very intimate relationship with 2 young men.
Yeah.
And you are to play siblings. And the roll of the dice that the 3 of you would get along as well as you did.
I know.
Is maybe impossible?
Yeah, it's
almost
so
impossible.
remarkable.
So people know, like you'd see them together all the time.
Tell us about it. Tell us about meeting these 2 guys and and
this connection you guys
how quickly
forged.
this connection formed, if it was quick at all.
Totally. I remember the first day I was on set, I actually had like no dialogue my first day of working, and I was just there for like one quick scene at the end of the night, and they were doing all the football.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was like the football competition between them. So they had spent a lot of time together already. So I was a bit nervous coming. I was like, I think they've already established a relationship. I don't know them well, and I'm the only girl, and I can be a bit shy anyway. So, but almost instantly we ended up clicking, and then Niles happened to live in my area. So we almost like by the first week of working started carpooling to work together. I could drive at the time. He was too young to drive yet. And we lived in the same area. So to help out, I would pick him up and take him to work and take him back.
Perfect.
And that ended up like getting us bonded pretty quickly. And then, we kind of just made a conscious effort, like eating lunch in our trailers together and really just trying to get to know each other. And then thankfully, like you said, it doesn't always work out that you end up being really connected with the people, but we've stayed, those are truly like siblings to me, like my brothers.
Yeah.
Fully.
That's what Logan said.
Like
too.
I said, as soon as Logan got off filming, he FaceTimed me to be like, oh my God, I had the best time. You're going to have so much fun.
I feel the same way with Chrissy and Justin too. That's the family. They're family.
Yeah.
I actually remember you saying to me one time, Sterling, I mean, I felt so, like I said, like everything, it was like my first time really being on a set as like, I was 18 now, an adult on my own. And everything felt so intense and I was so green. And I remember one time you saying to me, like, you know, I've had a lot of experience, and this is not always the case where everyone, like on all fronts, everyone's like a family, like everyone gets along, everyone's working at the highest caliber, like everyone takes pride in what they're doing and loves their job. And you were like,
it's never
really
the case.
Just like appreciate this moment that you're in, because it's not every set is like this. And I really like held on to that the whole time I was working. Of feeling like I'm so spoiled that this is my first experience.
It's such a testament to you and your talent that you hadn't been acting for 4 years and you so seamlessly transitioned into this character. There is never a false moment with you.
Nope.
You are so subtle. You are so dang good at what you do. It's so, like, it was always such a pleasure to work with you. And it was, you know, Rebecca and Kate had a very complicated relationship, especially at this juncture. And I just, like, anytime I read a script and I saw your name on the call sheet, I was like, yes, like I just like from the minute you show up on this show, like, again, I'm sitting here in awe going, I cannot believe this girl was working at Chipotle and wasn't like a working actor on show after show after show, because you just like, you had such a quiet confidence.
Yeah.
The work was just so seamless from the beginning.
Thank
truly.
you so much. And also, honestly, like, obviously I could sing your praises forever, but I felt the same about you. And I really appreciated, I feel like I learned the most from you just from like the way that you carried yourself on the set, and the way that you prepared, and the way that you were so dedicated and so talented. But it was never like you were trying to preach to me or trying to teach me or make me feel less than. It was just, I learned just by absorbing everything around you, by being a sponge.
That is very kind.
I feel the same.
You guys did not need, like, you didn't need any words of wisdom. It's like you were all operating at a 12 already. We were just lucky to have you.
Let me ask you, because we're this is an episode 202, and you're in it at the very end.
Yes.
Right? And there's an echoing that happens in the episode where we see Mackenzie early in the episode, because Jack on his lunch break sometimes just goes to have lunch with his daughter and hang out and whatnot. And she can see he's going through a tough time. And she puts her hands on his face, right?
Yeah.
And says, it's going to be okay, Dad, whatever. And so at the end of this episode, he's talking to Katie girl. I always wondered, did Jack come up? I think like Milo, it's just sort of like Katie girl. It's just like one of those things that sticks in my head. And he's telling her about like how he has a drinking problem, and, you know, he tried to get over it, and now he's having a tough time with it, and he just wanted to let her know. And you're there just listening to him. And my God, woman, you put your hands on this grown man's face, And I was like, I should get a daughter. I was like, I was like, these boys ain't gonna do this to me. I need a little girl to go put her hands on my.
It was so tender and loving.
It was so tender and loving and beautiful. Just talk to a little bit, because two things really start to happen that we find from the past. And it's already happened in the past in season 1 with Mackenzie, the younger version. But we start to really see the connection between this young woman and her father. And then we also begin to see like the sort of friction between this young woman and her mother. So I'm just very curious.
And we know too that this is a very pivotal juncture in their life. We know at this point now, we've seen in flashbacks that the sort of a fuzzy bit of the funeral. So we know this is the age that these characters are when their dad passes away.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, just to interject that, I was thinking that like.
Yeah, I just wanted to know for you, like, because what was it like entering into that space, like sort of living that reality both with Jack and Rebecca?
Well, first, with that scene specifically, it's funny because I so vividly remember filming that. And I remember the first take or two that we did, it almost felt like I was too in my head. It was too mechanical because I knew when I was supposed to put my hands on his face and when I was supposed to hug him. And I knew the dialogue that was supposed to precede that. But I just remember in between one of the takes, Milo saying to me, like, you're doing amazing. Just really like listen to what I'm saying. Really hear what Jack is telling you. And it was like the most simple tip, but it was exactly what it needed. It was like
listening.
To exit any of the like mechanics that went into it and really just sit there and hear. And sometimes that's the most powerful, is having no dialogue at all, just reading it on your face. So I totally remember filming that scene. It was a special moment. But I always really, really appreciated getting to play the time period of Kate Pearson that I did, especially because I think it's true for anyone. Like your teenage years, you can be such a different person than you are in adulthood and childhood. It's such a pivotal time. So I always felt, although the role was shared, it felt really like I could make it my own. And I felt very individual in playing it. But I think that, like we said, it's like in a difficult time period in general, especially. I think I can relate. My mom and I, we butt heads a lot during my teenage years. I think it's just the time into becoming a woman, and you're like starting to feel that you want your more independence and that you know everything and everything feels heavy and complicated. And then once you become an adult, I think is when I finally realized, like, I resonate so much with my mother. Like I was so hard on her and I didn't recognize that she's human and she's just trying her best. And she's, you know, she's a woman looking out for another young woman, and she has wisdom. But at the time you just feel almost resentful of someone trying to put that upon you. And then I think on top of that, the layer of all the trauma that Kate goes through in that time period. She has this super close relationship with her dad and then loses him in such a tragic way. And, you know, Rebecca seems to gracefully be such a punching bag for a lot of that time period and seems to totally understand that Kate's dealing with a lot of trauma and a lot of misplaced anger, and never seems to hold it against her, just kind of lets her feel what she needs to feel. And then I think that's what's so beautiful about this show, is that you never have to imagine, you know, a lot of times for character work, you have to imagine, like, how will this affect my character's future? And what will this relationship be like when they're adults? And it's just like written out for me already. So it really gave me like such informed work, because it was like, I can actually see how this transgresses already between the relationship with Chrissy and Mandy. So
it's
so smart.
It's funny, in episode 201, Chrissy says, like, you guys are having an argument, and she said, like, what exactly did I do? And she's like, just being you, or like your presence, like you're existing or something.
She said, yeah, you existed.
You existed. And you see like Rebecca just take it on the chin, like, don't know exactly what to do with that, but okay.
What can you say to that?
I think the show, and you highlight this, Hannah, is that there's a level of empathy that we can have for our parents in recognizing that they are not perfect people. They are people doing the best that they can, right? Because so much of it is us living it out at the same timeline, and you have all this stuff like they should have done this, they should have done that, and then you're like, oh, I'm making mistakes too. Maybe I should just actually have a little bit more grace for the people for doing the best that they could.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was cool about like Jack making the conscious decision in this episode of 202 to like, he said, I struggled with the drinking privately before, like now it's time for me to open that up to the children.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important too. It's like being young, your parents are your superheroes and they do no wrong. And it's like, actually, I think builds a stronger foundation for a relationship to realize they're humans. This is their first time doing life too.
Yeah.
And they're trying their best, but they're not perfect. But so Jack revealing like, hey, I know I'm everything to you, that I can still be who I am to you, but I also struggle.
Right.
I have a drinking problem. And to be honest and open, I think my mom's always been that way, parenting us as well, just really transparent, really honest. I think it's like definitely the reason that I have such a close relationship with her. So I hope to take some of those tidbits into parenting my children one day.
I'm sure you will.
You will.
Will you do me a favor? When we get back into the exploration of your relationship during this timeline, will you come back and talk to us, please? Because that's one of the, that relationship, I think, made our viewers collectively be like, who is this D-bag? And get him out of here.
Yeah. Brutal.
Truly.
Brutal.
And I couldn't believe, I mean, obviously a lot of the topics that my character dealt with resonated with a lot of people, but that storyline specifically, I got some of the most powerful messages from women that had survived crazy, toxic relationships. And so, that was, and like maybe fun's not the right word to describe that time period, but that was like, I really felt connected to doing that work as well.
But you'll come back. You'll come back and talk to us.
Please.
You heard it here. That's a commitment.
Okay, I appreciate it. That's what I want.
Is there anything you've been working on that you want to shout out and tell people about, or tell people what we can, where we can find you on social media, all of that fun stuff?
Yeah. Honestly, I've kind of I don't have anything really, a specific thing to share.
I'm back at Chipotle. I've mastered the guacamole.
Where can people find you online, on Instagram, things like that?
Yeah, all my social medias are Hannah ZEILE XO.
Okay.
Excellent.
Nice.
Hugs and kisses.
Yeah.
Hannah, thank you so much for making time to come hang out with us. We all need to get together in person at some point in time and just sit down.
We're going to put together a big
family
reunion.
We're going to figure something out.
Sterling's going to captain that.
I'll help you out.
I really, really would love that. I think life just like gets in the way. You're kind of living the day by day. And then when I see you guys and talk to you, I realize how much I really miss you guys. And when I saw Mandy, I think the last time I saw you was at the Dr. Death.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was like,
she and Logan came to the premiere.
Excited to see you.
I was so excited to see you and so surprised.
Yeah.
I was like, once my daughter, always my daughter.
Right on.
Truly. No, I know. It feels like we always pick up right where we all left off. So I really appreciate you guys having me on here to talk. And a reunion definitely needs to happen.
Absolute
We'll make it happen.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you. So good to see you.
Thank you guys so much.
We'll see you soon, my dear.
This was so fun.